2013 Subaru Outback with 230,000 miles, and it has issue where battery drains in about 2 days. When I was hooking up battery tester, sometimes it would say battery is good, sometimes not. I replaced battery, but that did not fix the issue. I'm gonna lock the vehicle. Gonna remove negative terminal. Was definitely tough to hook it up, but as you can see here, it's draining a lot. Vehicle is locked, alarm system is set. It's been like that just for a couple minutes, so I'll wait probably 10-15 minutes to see if it's gonna drop. It's been 15 minutes, still same thing. Now I'm pretty confident that all systems are shut down. I'll accept alarm, of course, and maybe something else, but majority of stuff is shut down. Now I'll remove this cover. I have this on the way, so I'm gonna remove this. It's a lot of fuses here. Now, unfortunately, I do not have another multimeter, which means I'm gonna have to pull each fuse individually and look for voltage drop. There's obviously gonna be issue where some of the fuses, once I put them back in, it might activate some system, but I don't have another multimeter. I was suspecting it would be issue with audio since I recently installed stereo, but it's not. Pull the fuse and still have same thing. It was kinda tough pulling out each fuse, just angle there wasn't that good. So I decided I bought a cheaper multimeter. Cost just $10, and I'm gonna use that to try to find where the drain is coming from. I see one right here. Seems to be a lot. I'm gonna show you later which fuse it is, but it's 15 amp. And I'm gonna pull it out and look at this reading right there, see if it'll make a difference. And looks like it didn't. Kind of weird. Okay, I'll put it back on and continue. Now it's at 0. Really weird. Maybe this one. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Let's see where it's going to. Back up. So the fuse that was draining right here, and it says it's back up. So now I'm gonna try to figure out what exactly is causing the issue. What's interesting is it appears that backup fuse controls the alarm system. Connected the battery without that fuse, tried to unlock the car by remote, it would not unlock. Then I used key to unlock it, the alarm went off, and I could not shut it off with remote. So I think what I'll do now is I'll check if actual alarm system is what's causing the issue. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave the vehicle like that without setting alarm. I'm gonna do the same test now. I'm gonna do a couple other testings. I got this tool with a clamp, and what's interesting is it shows 910 milliamps driving, when on a previous testing, when I disconnected that, it showed about 450 or so. So I'm gonna do is I'm gonna disconnect this and gonna do test again. The battery died again, so I need to do more testing. To me it looks like this one's not really reliable. Numbers are very different. So I zeroed it, and if it reads correctly, it's 8840 milliamps, which is a lot. So this one definitely increased, but I still don't see how that's anywhere close to this one. So I'm getting roughly 400 to 500 milliamps when alarm is set. Now what's really strange is I tried not to lock the vehicle, and still it didn't drain battery completely, but battery was much lower. I couldn't start the vehicle after leaving it for a couple of days. Same test, except what I did now, I put thing here, so the vehicle is locked and alarm is set. And now I'm gonna look through those fuses. Just pulled out this fuse, slot 7, 7.5. After I pulled it off, went to pretty much 0. Gonna double check, put it back in. Again, slot is 7. Interesting, so now I'm gonna inspect what this slot 7 does. I expected more details, but all it says is unit plus B. And I'm definitely gonna be returning this one. I'm gonna have to go through service manual anyway to see what the fuse does, but I just disconnected it, and so what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna start the car and see if I notice any electronics that are not working. It's crazy, but it's like the battery is completely dead. There is nothing I can do. No lights at all. Well, I'm gonna plug it in. It's plugged in. That's crazy. Gotta be something to do with alarm. So now while vehicle is running, I'm gonna try to unplug it and see what happens. And that literally killed everything. Fuse number 7 goes to electronic parking brake switch. Since I'm working on it, probably unrelated issue, but since I'm working on it, might as well test it out. I'm gonna unplug it. And I'm gonna also unplug the switch itself. And this is a parking brake module. So it's out. And I'm gonna check if battery drainage stopped or not. Probably it won't. But just because it's somehow somewhat related to fuse 7, I disconnected it. Now I'm gonna use M-Hound to see how much amps are going through fuse number 7. Kind of sucks with this one is instructions are completely misleading. Just to show you, you start it. I'm using mini fuse 7.5. See how it's blinking? While it's blinking, you can't measure amperage. So what you have to do is push two of them together, but not for too long. Now you're ready to check. 0.29. I just checked, and disconnecting electronic parking brake control module did not help at all. Last time I was looking at the car was fully charged yesterday around 5 p.m. or so, and now today same time 5 p.m. and I can't start the vehicle. There's still some power, but not enough to crank the engine. I'm gonna unplug speedometer cluster and see if I'm still losing same amount of amps. All screws are out. Should be able to remove this now. Does feel hot. Wiring harness does not appear to be corroded or anything. Now I'll check a couple things. First I'll check if remote is working or it's completely everything is disconnected because of the cluster removal. Just check headlights do work. So remote also works. So I'm still able to lock the doors. I'll pretend the vehicle is closed and I'll check temperature fuse number 7. So it's definitely much smaller. Now 150 milliamps is still a lot. Should be around 40. There are a couple other things I want to check. About 2 weeks before I noticed a problem, maybe less, maybe more, I installed this LED taillight right here. Now taillight has nothing to do with fuse 7, absolutely nothing, but the harness that includes the taillights also includes a button to set alarm to lock unlock doors. So maybe somehow this harness got damaged during installation, maybe somehow that's related. So I'm gonna unplug and check if amperage drops. Huge breakthrough. I hooked up my multimeter here again to the negative terminal and was reading about 600 milliamps draining. And what was confusing is when I disconnected speedometer from 600 went to 400. Then when I disconnected that connector that goes to keyless access control module went to 200. So it was still draining 200 milliamps. So I decided to use an amp count. I checked every single small fuse, nothing else was draining. Then I started disconnecting the bigger one, disconnected this one. By the way, it was very tough removing those with long needles, pliers. I'll have to find a better tool. Disconnected this one, still same thing, draining 200 amps, plug it in. Then I started disconnecting this one, was very tough to remove, broke it. And once I removed this one, the multimeter showed pretty much 0 milliamps draining, or to be specific, probably about 20 milliamps, which is nothing. And this fuse goes to motors for front driver and passenger seats. Passenger's motor seat worked and driver side did not. So after removing this fuse, I plugged in instrumental cluster, speedometer, and keyless access control module, and still draining 20 milliamps. So it looks like this fuse that goes to front 2 seats somehow was draining amperage from the seats and from instrumental cluster and from keyless access control module. Really weird. So at least now I already tested instrumental cluster working fine, keyless access control module working fine. Only thing is not working now is front 2 seats, but I'm not really worried about it much. Now I have time to figure it out and I can still use the vehicle. To access power seat control module, slide this out. It's right here. So I'm gonna connect the fuse that goes to motor seats. I'll unplug this main connector. And I'll check if we still have parasitic draw. After waiting 5 minutes or so, showing about 45-50 milliamps. So now we're good. Now I'm gonna connect that fuse that powers the motor seats. It's connected. Still same milliamps. I just connected main connector again, and as you can see, it shows 500 milliamps. I guess now I'm gonna try to disconnect one at a time from control module, see if it'll make a difference. Still same. Now I'm gonna disconnect another one. Connected this one back. Actually, you know what, I'll wait, because it looks like it's dropping. So maybe this one
have some issues. Not sure where it's going though.
And it dropped back to standard 20 milliamps.
So I'm gonna plug this one in and then we're gonna look at the other connectors. I'm just gonna remove some connectors one at a time. Gonna disconnect this one. Guess I'll do a couple. Disconnected just 3 of those and I'll see if amperage drops.
So disconnecting those 3 connectors didn't help at all. I'll plug them back in.
See one more over here. I'm gonna unplug that one. That one looks different. Maybe it's for heated seats. And from here I don't see any other connectors except there's one more right here. I think it's for the switch. And I have to figure out how to remove this cover. So to loosen this, you just move this kind of like this. And it moves this plastic out of the way. I don't need to remove it more than that. I have access to a couple of those connectors, which I'll remove one at a time and see if it'll help stop the parasitic draw. I'll start with this one. By the way, part of this connection, the one that was draining more amperage, some it goes to body control module and some to memory seat here. So probably if this doesn't help, that's gonna be our next one.
And looks like we found something.
Not sure if this is the issue or whatever goes after it, but I unplugged this one and drainage stopped.
I'm still tempted to check this one just because it's also connected to the switch. And I checked, I think all connectors under the seat, unplugged all of them, it still didn't help, so I guess I'll check this one as well. One more check actually.
I connected this back and I disconnected this one just to see if somehow from here goes here and this is causing it. So if now it's still gonna drain a lot, I think I'm gonna replace the switch.
Looks like it's still same thing.
So obviously this one's not the issue. I connected it back, disconnected this, confirmed that this actually is working. So more and more I tend to think it is a switch. I'm gonna order one and hopefully that's all there is to it. What's crazy is, I don't know where this is from, but looks pretty bad. Really, Jordy, wouldn't surprise me if some of that got in there.
Alright, I got new used motor switch and we'll see if it's gonna work.
Same part number, only thing is this one was made in 2012, this one end of 2009. Gonna remove this connector. I'm not gonna remove this yet, I'll just plug this in and see if there are changes to the battery drain.
Let's see. I'll wait a couple minutes, hopefully it will go down. I did forget to close the door. Okay, door is closed now, so now I'm gonna wait and see. I could be wrong, but I think it's already lower than usual. All right. Looks really good. That's definitely a good sign. And just one more check.
With this one, those controls didn't work at all. I'm gonna try just one or two. And yes, they do work. So for sure, this switch was bad.
New switch did not come with the buttons, I'm gonna remove them from here. Try to use this pry tool, hopefully that will work. Good. Looks good. I'm gonna remove 2 Phillips screws on this side, and you can lower this just to get a better access to them. Does look like maybe a lot of corrosion inside. I'll take it apart later and see what's going on. Now I'm gonna insert the new one. Now I'm gonna plug in the connector. Gonna try to secure all this piece back. Looks good. Now I'm gonna put those 2 buttons back on. And again, quick check. Awesome. So motor switch is replaced. And actually, looking at it now, as far as actual motor switch goes, you should be able to replace it even without moving the seat up. I think there's enough clearance here. In my case, obviously I was looking at what was specifically broken, so that's why I seat is up. Now that everything is installed, I'm gonna do a final test for parasitic draw to make sure nothing else is needed. And it's back to 20 milliamps, so we're good to go. Now I can remove everything here and connect the battery. Time to see what's inside this motor seat switch. Definitely looks like corrosion. Looks okay here. So on this side, all connectors, everything looks good. Only thing is corrosion build up right here, so I'll try to take this side off. Well, taking that cover turned out to be a lot more complicated and tough than I expected, especially with tools that are in my office, not in my backyard. But obviously this part was super easy, but inside here a lot tougher. I took it kind of apart, just enough to see where the issue was. And the issue was right here. This area looks like some water damage, something that caused this corrosion right here. I see something here, but I think it's just for me trying to take this apart. Main thing is right here, and before I even open it, I saw some corrosion right here. So it looks like this corrosion caused issues that were not even related to the car seat motor, to include power draw from instrumental cluster and from keyless access control module. Because from here it goes to motor seat control module, from there it goes to body control module, whatever the name of it. So this thing caused a bunch of issues in the vehicle. I also still have issues with parking brake assembly. I'm unable to calibrate it and initialize it. Hopefully replacing this motor would help with that, but we'll see in another video. Well, that's how I found and fixed the problem. It took a while, several weeks, probably more than that, to find the problem. Once I found it, replacing the switch was actually pretty easy. It also should be noted that I took it to dealership to see if they could find the problem, and instead of 1 hour I was told that it would take at least 4 hours, which would be about $800 for them to diagnose it, try to find the issue. And even then, in 4 hours it's not guaranteed that they would find it. Mistake I made is after I found fuse over here that was drawing roughly 400 milliamps, I just concentrated on that, when in reality there was also parasitic draw coming from another fuse. But then it's also really weird that from a seat switch it would affect several different fuses. I did end up buying a bunch of tools during this project, so I think I spent roughly $200 on tools, maybe more, maybe less, when if I were to take the Prom to dealership, it would have cost me at least $800, probably more than that. So if you have any questions, let me know, I'll try to reply as soon as I can. I'll provide Amazon affiliate links for all my tools I used to get this project done. Thanks for watching, see you next time.